All right, it's Wednesday. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jay Rice. Option Wrap. What up, Adam Bush? Richard Judge. We got Dylan in the house. What's up, Ema? Good morning, everyone. What up, Kenny Rosenberg? Here we are. It's Wednesday, post-election day. Listen, if your guy won, congratulations. You know, if you did win, don't gloat. If you lost, don't be a sore loser. Just figure out what you could do next time. The bottom line is all these politicians are full of sugar honey iced tea. And the only way your life's going to get better is if you take some accountability for your actions. If you want changes, you got to make changes. Be a better individual for your family and your community. Volunteer, do stuff. You know, Washington's not going to solve your problems. uh, Only you can. But anyway, it is a little crazy, the landscape. Like what they're going to do in New York City. You know what has come to with America. Like I know my dad yelled at me last night. He's like, "Did you see what's going around the country? I can never go to New York again." I'm like, "Dad, you're gonna go to New York City again. It's gonna be fine." But anyway, with that being said, here we are. Market's in a kind of weird spot where we're kind of in a corrective phase. The question is, what happens this time? Is it going to be a few days rebuild and go back to highs, or are we going to have some inside days? Does the action deteriorate, and do we get more of a down move, prior to, the holidays? And at this point, I would think a lot of people have risk down. Lots of names broke the 8 and 21 day. Some of the mega cap names are still hanging in there. So there's things to do. Yesterday I did say cooler minds prevail. And you could have made good money yesterday. Yesterday, in the first 15 minutes, the spies hit, the 21 day. In the first 15 minutes, you could have covered some shorts. And then we talked about things that can go red to green for day trading cash flow, or what could be bought versus a 5-15-minute low. Apple was down $1.50, went up $1.50. Great trade. Amazon was down 4, went up $1.50. Great trade. Some things didn't do as well, but there were things to do if your mind was right and if you had a proper plan. And now what? So spies are down $1.73. So we're at 673.49. Yesterday's low is 674.58. So do we stay below? Stay below, and if you have hedges, you take some hedges off a little bit, hold some just in case. Or do we reclaim this and put a little bottom tail in, and do things go from red to green again? There you go. That's the thought process. If it stays below, there's a gap to fill. This is what this high here is 672.71, so 673ish, which it's last night, to be honest, was more interesting than now. When we were down 45 handles, I'm like, all right, that's cool. Let us have another hard down day. Maybe then, I know a bunch of us rolled puts. I had puts on, which helped me yesterday. I had the 680 puts that we put on for like 80, 90 cents. Was able to sell those for 5. So that helped, absorb some of my slippage from leftover positions. So hedges can help. And then anyway, we figured out. I also, so yesterday for the first time, I'm going to do it right now, again with you guys, and I posted yesterday just to give a little perspective. So this is your daily chart. So now the question is, do we hang out in here? And if we had a few inside days and things roll down, chances are maybe we do see some lower prices. And some people are like, oh my God, the market's so crazy. It's down so much. And I'm like, well, look at the weekly chart. Let's just do the weekly chart. I did this yesterday. Look at the weekly chart. We're going to do a big blog post on this. On the weekly post, this is where we are. You had a high. All we did is break below. If this was a stock, we broke below the low of that shooting star top. Okay. And here's your 8-day. We've been above this 8-day moving average pretty much since this rally really started. It really started to me in the end of April. And since then, it's been a great sequence with a bunch of, momentum at times. Different weeks had different leaders. Bottom line is we held this 8-day the entire time. So some people are like, well, how is this going to continue? This is the 30-year double-digit gains. The deficit's out the asshole. I said, I mean, at the yin yang. What do we do? I'm like, well, got to break the 8-day first before you get a deeper correction, before you get one of these, before you get one of these, before you get one of these. And then you look at the monthly chart. Wow. look at there are a few things you could take from this monthly chart. Okay, just to have perspective here. First of all, this was remember the decade of pain, which was a consolidation when we had to have 1,000, ascending channel, descending channel, all that. But anyway, so what this tells me is a bunch of things. This tells me, over time, the bull market wins. Over time, if you put money every single month in a 401k, if you put money in a 529, every single month, that down moves help your average cost, and you could develop wealth, and you could prepare for retirement, and you can maybe send your kids to college without asking for handouts. No, did I say that? But anyway, but if you also look at the size of this move since September, the low here, which was the low of September 2022. Remember that move? That was a harsh move down. Here was your breakout. This is where we are. It's been a big move, and this is the 8-day. We've pulled back to it a bunch of times. So if you look at the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, it tells you all the things. As a 53-year-old, I trade for a living, so I need to make sure I respect the daily so I can make money monthly and quarterly. Okay. I also have a 401k, so I know I have to max it out every single month because, I have to sacrifice the dinners and the this and that to put money in a direct deposit. And then my son's a junior, and I've been putting a lot of money away, and it's adding up, but still, college is expensive. So all these different things you have to prepare for and learn how to engage. But anyway, that's why I'm talking a little bit more macro this morning. I do the 6:30 club every day, and I go over charts, and I go over sectors, and I go over the importance of the day and this and that. And the bottom line is everyone wants to talk about it. That's good. I'm glad a lot of people here, trade for a living. Most of the small caps have been absolutely annihilated. But you had, when Powell said December wasn't guaranteed, that's when the small caps lost their momentum. That's when you had to adjust and get out of a few things. But anyway, let's just go real quickly. Apple, looks good. Yesterday I said you guys could buy it versus 266.25 was a nice move. That's still post earnings is go-to status. Amazon, little faulty here, filled the gap. Not the end of the world. I would say this is now gone. That's good. 8-day needs to catch up. This is your new point of reference right here, 248.66. Does it hold it or play with it? 248.66. The real quickly, Google. I'm gonna mark up all these charts for the Alpha team and rather relax. Anyway, Google getting a little wishy-washy. The earnings gap is kind of starting to give way here. Now, this was your pivot. Now this low is what, 276.26. So anyway, so some of these things are changing. Lilly had a big move. Yes, that's true. Some of you guys are still on your old stuff. All right, Lily's had a huge move. Lily's been, it went from being broken to a rebuild. Some people are like, well, when did it rebuild? I'm like, well, I kind of remember here when we put this lower pivot, and this was the last time I really looked at this to rebuild, and then it broke the downtrend. And what's Lily doing that everybody's talking about? It's up 15. All right, Lily to me is more of a sell than a buy. You had your reversal, you had your breakout. I would be trimming into Lily here. I would not be looking to start a fresh position, even though it's been acting better. It has some room. So yeah, Lily's been pretty good. NVO guided down, big tailwind for NVO. All right. Some things lost the 21-day, and some things are in repair mode. Some people are like, well, Red Dog, what about Dash? I'm like, I haven't looked at Dash or traded Dash in a while. Ever since this double top at 285 and this bearish engulfing candle, after making a new high, it's just been out of play. It's different. It's not an active trade. It's not a momentum trade. It's a, rebuild, got to keep it out of the way trade, and now especially right here. So anyway, now it's just, again, it's not that interesting. It was a lot more interesting when the trend was intact and you have to move on. Micron. Okay, you want me to look at Micron? I haven't traded Micron in a while. What's Micron doing this morning? It's up $1.27. Okay. This to me looks like a little bit of a shooting star, a little bit of a trap high right here. It definitely lost the 8-day yesterday. It's right now. Thoughts on Meta? This is what I'm thinking with Meta. Okay, Meta, I'm going to probably sell puts. Okay, Meta had a huge hole, so that put it in the penalty box. Yesterday I made money. It was down to, showed some relative strength around 940. I bought it, went up 2.50, and I sold it, and I didn't trade it again. In this type of environment that's range bound and choppy, you have to take trades and not revisit them, because sometimes they change composure, and then you'll have a great trade from 938 to 955, and then you'll lose money trying it a few times the rest of the day. But anyway, I do think that this gap gets filled. Where's Meta this morning? What I might do with Meta is, it's up $1.33. So anyway, it's going to probably be choppy. You could use yesterday's low as for a Redler reversal, which it's broken. It's just a little trade. If we came in more, what I would probably do is, I think I would sell some $600 puts for November 21st and collect like $5. And then if it gets there, I wouldn't mind owning Meta into here. And if it doesn't get there, I keep my $5. So that's what I would do there. It needs a lot of time. Meta needs time to rebuild. Microsoft, looks like I put a little bit of a bottom tail in here, but still, it's just a range trade. A lot of these things, there's nothing so exciting. Like right now, I feel like there's nothing that's like making higher lows and higher highs and taking out all-time highs and having momentum, which is the market that I like. But for now, it's just choppy, and you take trades, have a little less on, keep your sanity. A lot of people lose their sanities in times like this. In the last 2 weeks, with the small caps breaking, the 8-day and the 21-day, and names going from, like, I was talking to my friend Peter this morning. There are names that went like from 5 to 20 and went up 400%. And then when they go from 20 back to 12 and people bought them at 16, they're losing their hair, because they bought it at 16, didn't take it at 20, now it's at 12. And it's like 40% off highs, but it went up 400%. And that's the kind of environment we're in. So Simon says, momentum market, yes, I like. Now it's not exciting. So that means you have to do less. Like even Tesla. So someone said, what about Tesla? Choppy as hell. There's no momentum. I don't know why I can't get rid of this thing right here. Broke below the 8-day again. It's choppy. You could make money. There are some days that are better than others. Still holding the 21 day. As long as it's holding the 21 day, it's fine. But if you're playing options and you're looking for excitement, it's not that exciting right now. It's just not. It kind of got rejected into this 470, got above and failed again. Tesla's been hard. Tesla, to be honest, has been really hard. So I still have some Tesla calls on, and the vote is Thursday, so we'll see how it goes. So it's tough money right now. Anyway, with that being thoughts on gold. Gold is kind of choppy and weaker. Gold right here. Last big play I had on gold was, I shorted it here. I bought puts and I felt really good and stayed with them. And then that happened. So I made good money, was done with it into the 21 day. I said to sell it into the 8-day, which is, here it's above the 8-day for gold. Here it's below. And yesterday, while the market was weak, people weren't looking for safety in gold. They were just kind of selling everything. Whereas gold right now, it's up $1.46. It's, the momentum has been broken and now it's in a rebuild stage. I will say that Bitcoin, a little interesting, a little bit more interesting. By the way, I'm still in Apple. I'm still in Amazon. I still have some Tesla calls. I'm trading some hedges. So I'm still doing that. You want to see what Bitcoin tried to do a washout yesterday, and Bitcoin has been horrible, and Bitcoin's been bleeding, and Bitcoin's been a pain in the butt. But maybe there's a chance that Bitcoin did a little bit of a washout yesterday, which would be good for moving forward. But so here's Bitcoin. All right, so this is the chart. Bitcoin gave you many ways to navigate it if you're active. Looked great here. We had a good trade there, got above the prior high and failed. Then on this candle was your out. If you're a momentum trader, if you traded actively for a living, that was your out. Came in, got rejected, went lower, got rejected, and then broke right here. And now it's barely held on 98,000. It has some room to the moving averages, but Bitcoin is just not acting special. At some point, maybe it gets better. At some point, it's there's power and momentum and trades well. But for now, I know for me, I lost some money in options, and I'm really waiting to see before I put some more money to work there. If you buy Bitcoin every single month, which is cool too, and you've been doing it for 3 years, the way I've said in all my yearly reports, you're doing great, just like gold. So if you have that pie chart and you do equities and bonds and gold and Bitcoin, that would be my pie chart. Not all coins. You want to trade all coins, they better be following your momentum rules where it's above the 8 and 21 day acting great. And then the altcoins have been crap, to be honest. So Richard Judge says, thank you again for your time. All right. Have a good day too. Palantir. Palantir is in the penalty box. See what happens here. Palantir had a great report, but it's selling at a 95 times whatever it is, and this and that, and 185 is right here. Where's Palantir this morning? PLTR is down 470. So you know what? Is Palantir going to hold 185.56? Maybe you buy versus that. Maybe it goes from down 4 to green. That would be a great day trade for some of you guys. Maybe it wants to shake things up, break this, test the gap, and then reclaim it. Or it's going to stay below. I don't really know. I'll watch it today. Yesterday gave you a good trade in the first 20 minutes. You could have bought in the hole, rallied $5, and then got rejected into resistance like everything else. But for now, there's a hole in the chart. It's kind of no man's land. It might be a false breakout-ish, right? This might wind up being an island top. So just be a little bit careful and wait. QS, just like all the other small caps, it came in a bunch. This was like kind of what I said before. Like some people bought it down here below $10, and it went up 90%. And the options we had 4 different times went up 2, 3, 4x. And now everyone's crying. Oh my God, QS is so bad. I'm like, look at what the small caps did. Look what some others, what the IWM just did. The stock is rebuilding, and hopefully, it holds in here, comes out with some big news with an OEM, and then responds well. But again, this was the first move that my guy has caught, and then you could have caught the second move. And now does it rebuild here and then take that out? I would say go out and buy $20 calls, but give yourself like a month just in case the market's not as good as it could have been. And as far as Poet's a pain in the butt. I lost a bunch of money there yesterday. A lot of guys tried to get me really excited about this thing. We played it once, and then I started buying it with those 2 big investors at 7 1/4, and I lost a bunch of money. Hopefully it bounces a little bit. I think by the end of the week, they're supposed to come out with the 2 investors that took down 2 big blocks of this because of the exciting technology out for down the road. But this is just not the market for it right now. If it's a long-term play, it's a long-term play. Just make sure you don't have too much and it takes away from your P&L. But we'll see. I'm not getting away from it. If you want, go out like 2-3 months and buy like $7.50 calls or $8 calls, or just buy it versus level. It's back in the base, but shouldn't be like an over trade. Avago, breakout failure. Look at that. It broke out above 374. If you added late for a breakout trade, it's right back in. That's tough. NVIDIA yesterday, I actually made money short NVIDIA. Red Dog made money short. I'm such a weirdo. At 12:40, before I left to go do my workout, my push-ups, I do push-ups every day at lunch. NVIDIA was trading like at 201.50, and I'm like, it just looks weak. It's going to break the low, and it broke this 201 and came in, and I'm like, I'm not going to take it short into AMD. I'm just going to take my money, so I made 2 points in NVIDIA short. Big deal. Anyway, what's NVIDIA doing today? NVIDIA, it's down $2 into 196. This was the prior high, so this would be a spot to watch. Maybe NVIDIA is buyable in the hole and then reclaims 197.93. Tactical. I think the whole world is tactical right now. You got to be tactical. and you got to be quick on your feet, and you got to make some cash flow, and not have big time opinions. So I would say for NVIDIA, if you sold into this lower high double top, or when it broke 201, hey, you have the luxury of seeing if this prior high gets bought. So maybe there's a 5-15-minute low, and does it reclaim 97.93? So you want to frame trades. You just don't want to listen to people. Oh, NVIDIA is the best stock in the country. Oh, NVIDIA's, the P is getting lower. It's no. How are you going to look at it today? What's your risk parameters? What's your frame setup? And how are you going to approach it? I come in with no NVIDIA. I made a little bit of money short there yesterday. And I'll look at it. Right now, the SPYs are down $1.20. So NVIDIA is showing a little relative weakness. What are the Qs are down 2. So we'll see. Hey, maybe there's a nice little scalp from 212 to 195-ish. Could be a good scalp versus that level. If not, then you have the 21-day right here. Frame trades, be tactical, make some cash flow, let the market figure it out, stack some days, keep even keel, and continue to work on your mindset. It's only November 5th. Come on. We got a lot of November left, got December left. Markets are allowed to correct. I showed you the daily chart, the weekly chart, the monthly chart. Have some perspective, and the more you prepare and the better your mind is, the better you can execute with confidence. So, with that being said, it's a 6:54. I keep going over my 20 minutes. If you enjoy the 6:30 Club for free, congratulations. Most people do really well on the Alpha team, or power plays, or you just tune in right here. And if you're a member and you subscribe to Red Dog Mindset above, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And hopefully it's helping you get your mind right. We do a Wall Street workout of 25-20 every morning. We do some nice, mind work with whiteboard weekends, and, just trying to keep, it's not all about the X's and O's and the chart patterns. Everyone looks at the same things. It's about, conducting yourself in a manner so you can think clearly, you could trust yourself, and you could execute when your mind says, hey, it's go time. So we'll see, be patiently aggressive right now. Patiently aggressive, I think, is a good term. I'll see you guys later.